Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first Youth International Forum on Spice Route. We are in utmost delight to be having all of you and sincerely wish for everyone's safety and health. Thank you for joining us in today's event. Before we begin, let us take a moment to listen to the national anthem of Republic Indonesia, Indonesia Raya. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We may now proceed with our agenda. First, let me read our lineup for today. Let me write out the lead for today. The lineup for today's event, first from 9 a.m. until 9:15, we will be having an opening session. From 9:15 until 9:45 a.m., we will be having Keynote Address, Spice Route as Common Heritage. From 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., we will be having public talks with the topics climate change, human adaptation, and resilience. From 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., we will be having public talks with the topics blue economy and SDGs. From 3 p.m. until 5 p.m., we will be having a public talks with the topics maritime security. And here are the rules for today's event. First, Participants must dress neatly and behave politely during this event. Second, participants are requested not to turn on the sound during the event. Third, during this event, the chat column will be turned off. Fourth, participants can ask questions during Q&A session by using the raise hands feature in Zoom application. The moderator will then select the participants. Thank you. To introduce us to today's event, please welcome Mr. Bram Kusharjanto, member of the Board of Trustees Negeri Rempah Foundation.
Thank you very much, distinguished guest, Bapak Restu Gunawan, Director of the Culture Development and Utilization from Ministry of Education and Culture, the speaker who will present various important materials on this day, and of course to the young participants who will attend the meeting starting in the next 2 days. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan dan rahayu. The spice route is currently widely discussed in Indonesia and the world as a natural and cultural heritage that has a long trail in shaping world civilization. It is only right for Indonesia to celebrate. It is an important milestone marking the intercultural connection with many nations. When talking about spice routes, it will not be separated from the talk about maritime affair. Since centuries ago, the sea has become a link between nations that have played their respective roles in the spice community, which has created a cross-national shipping routes that is rich in social, cultural, religious, and technological phenomena as the spice route travels. In line with Indonesia's effort to propose the spice route as World Heritage, it is important to disseminate knowledge and insight regarding these matters, including to the younger generation, to achieve an understanding that for a long time we have been connected with various cultures that ultimately shapes our diversity today. This awareness of multiculturalism is important in fostering good relation between nations and maintaining world peace. The Indonesian government effort to propose the spice route as World Heritage is a step that must be supported from all levels of society. This also reminds us of the understanding of the Indonesian maritime continent because the sea will always be connected to the spice route. As part of the continuation of the International Forum on the Spice Route, the Youth International Forum on Spice Route program is intended for young people to be able to participate in responding to various issues on a global scale, especially for countries that have historical and cultural connections from along the spice route. This youth program is aimed at young people who deserve to be supported to provide space for young people to participate and provide their best ideas to support effort to understand the spice route to a global scale. On behalf of the Negeri Rempah Foundation and Indonesian Maritime Youth, I would like to welcome all young delegates and participants to the Youth International Forum on Spice Route 2021. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Indonesian Ministry of Education and Culture, to deliver us the keynote address, please welcome Dr. Restu Gunawan.
Baik, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, good morning. Pak Bram yang saya hormati, Bu Kumorate dari Yayasan Negeri Rempah seluruhnya, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to meet you this morning on the occasion of the seminar on Youth International Forum on Spice Route 2021, representing our Director General of Culture, who is unable to attend. I'm very happy to hear that this seminar is attended by both Indonesian youth and our colleagues from other countries such as Egypt, the Philippines, Yemen, Malaysia. And thank you, Negeri Rempah Foundation. Please share. Negeri Rempah Foundation for inviting us to this meeting. As we know, the Negeri Rempah Foundation continues to actively carry out activities related to the Spice Road. This is according with the program being developed by the Ministry of Education and Culture. I think the movement to maintain the campaign of the Spice Road as a platform for cooperation must indeed be carried out by all parties, including the government, the community, and the private sector. As we know that the global spice trade in Asia through the Indian Ocean has left a long mark of civilization. This maritime road has made a significant contribution as a means of cultural exchange and intercultural understanding that bring together various ideas, concepts, knowledge, and experiences between people across nations. Thus, the spice trade road has led to the development of various sciences and culture which are not only cultural heritage for Indonesia, but also for the world, because of its strategic geopolitical and geoeconomic position and links between two continents and two oceans that put Indonesia at the global meeting point. Apart from that, it should be noted that the spices were on their way not only travel to one direction, to the west, but also to the east and south. Spices as a commodity have been used in even before century. Of course, to prove this claim, comprehensive research is needed, involving various scientific disciplines. Based on various good records from the explorer of China, India, and even the Middle East, spices on their way have crossed various oceans and regions before reaching the Middle East and Europe. As we can see in the picture, pepper was found in the body of Ramses II as a part of natural preservation of mummy. The uniqueness of the pre-colonial spices trade is although through a long journey. The relationship between immigrant and native people was mutually respectful. They do not conquer each other but strengthen each other's culture. This changed when colonialism entered the trading system with a desire to dominate and colonize. This was done by the Europeans with their sizable troops and fleets. The picture as a word map drawn by Henricus Martellus in 1489. It was immediately put on map produced by European and trading nation other. At every port crossing point, the spices have been encouraged cultural exchange both in the form of adaptation and acculturation. This form of cultural exchange take the form of food, nation, cultural technology, custom, and ritual, belief, and so on. So the spice commodity has actually encouraged the emergence of new cultures. For example, agarwood, camphor are mentioned in Ramayana book and Jatakatel. The Ministry of Education and Culture of the Republic of Indonesia strive to promote the spice road through sustainable efforts that involve various elements of society. The spice road is being revived as a collective memory. This effort is carried out by providing education to the public about several things, including the position of spices as a unifying force and shaping the development of civilization in the archipelago and even the world. The archipelago is an important node of intercultural exchange that brings together various ideas, knowledge, religion, language, and even custom for centuries. Apart from that, it also fills the nation-long empty maritime and maritime image, which the past glory of the archipelago as an international player in maritime trade and politics due to its maritime power. For this reason, a more concrete action plan is needed on how to develop and utilize the spice as a cultural force related to various other aspects from tourism, creative economy, agriculture, cultural diplomacy, health, and other aspects. So broad is the aspect and involvement of related parties that the Spice Road must be seen as a joint movement to strengthen the Indonesian cultural ecosystem. We know, for example, that China with the Silk Road, which has been recognized as a World Heritage in the past few years. They were able to make the Silk Road a new tagline in development, even by laying a fairly strong foundation on the Silk Road for the development of culture diplomacy, politics abroad. This is a pretty good example of where culture is the basis for its development. So in 2020, several efforts have been initiated, including conducting discussion and various studies to evoke collective memory about spices as an important Indonesian commodity long before the colonial government came. In addition, it also seeks to include the Spice Road as a world culture heritage. For the part category, there are several things that must be done, as this is different from the proposed cultural heritage. In 2020, the Ministry of Education and Culture, together with related stakeholders, have made effort to increase understanding and concern for the Spice Road. These activities include conducting seminar, discussion, research, talk show, making film, competition, including comic, poster, and animation. In 2021, we will continue the Spice Road activities by carrying out the journey of the Spice Road with the Dewa Ruchi ship in collaboration with the Indonesian Navy. The journey will start from Banda Island on 17 August and finish in Surabaya on 28 October by crossing the Setipot and from Banda, Ternate, Makassar, Banjarmasin, and NDC. The journey will be participated by the media on the young generation of students, totaling around 156 people. In turn, we will do the selection mechanism for participants through an open call. And each point, a festival will be held, including art show, culinary, seminar, and exhibition. In addition to inviting to involvement of the younger generation, we are also conducting a comic competition, the Spice Road and jingle making for the Spice Road. Therefore, through this forum, I would like to invite all of us to celebrate this heritage through the exchange of knowledge and understanding between culture, as well as promoting multiculturalism through the Spice Road as one of the world cultural and natural heritage that is still relevant today. Mutual cooperation of various parties must be a common strength because all of them have their respective limitation and strength. And finally, I have to thank to Negeri Rempah Foundation, Pak Bram, and team, and Maritim Muda Nusantara for initiating this seminar and simulation, which provide interesting topic that will enrich our insight about culture, diplomacy, and many aspects of life. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi.
Thank you very much, Dr. Restu Gunawan. Before we continue to the next session, I would like to kindly ask the attendants today to fill out the present form. The link can be found in the chat below. Up next, the first public talk session will be due in the 10 a.m. Until then, we will have break session. Thank you.
survive on faults and stories told we stand alone. Shadows of radically innocent, counting down what carries on to the end.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the first Youth International Forum on Spice Route. Before we begin, I would like to kindly remind all of the attendants today to fill out the presence form. The link can be found in the chat below. Thank you. On to the first public talk session, a discussion on climate change, human adaptation, and resilience with our honorable speakers, Ms. Fevi Ekawardiani from Climate Reality Indonesia and Ms. Mo Chiba from UNESCO Jakarta office. Please welcome our brilliant moderator for this session from Hiron University with specialty on architecture, urban heritage, and sustainable development, Dr. Maulana Ibrahim, PhD.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to our first session of public talks. You're all here in Zoom meeting and all the public participants in YouTube live session. Today is a very special day for us because we can learn together not only from the experts that have a various experience in these topics, but also from the youngster, the young generation, the Z generation that already doing so many activations, so many activities during this topic. If we're talking about the Spice Road, not only talking about historical and cultural background only, but we're also talking about what's happened to the world today and prepare for our future. So please welcome our first speaker, Ms. Fevi is a very young student also, and also a master student in Taiwan, one of the universities in Taiwan. They're doing a lot of activity to control and care about our environment, but I will not talking too much for this session. So please, Ms. Fevi will tell the experience and share the thing for us. Ms. Fevi, you have 20 to 25 minutes, please.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to say thank you so much because I have opportunity here to share with you guys. So let me introduce myself. My name is Fevi Ekawardiani, and I'm so sorry because if I have lining here, this is my LAM study. Now I'm in a dorm in the Taiwan. So yeah, the condition is not really convenient, I think, for you guys. So I would like to sorry the first before I continue. And here I have two screens, so I use my handphone to you hear my voice, and the other side I will have my computer. So maybe if I talk like this one, so it's me and I see my screen like that. So I'm Fevi Ekawardiani. I'm 23 years old now. As a master student, especially I focus on aquatic biosciences. So here I learn about water quality, how to prevent the water, and to know about all of the residue of antibiotics and everything. So we as a researcher can have something that can apply for the future. And beside that, I also the climate reality leader in Indonesia. They're training in August 2020. So yeah, it's around 1 year for me. And today I will talk about climate change and human adaptation. Yes, before we talk much about our matter today, I want you to know more about me. So maybe if you want to connect it with me or you want to ask something after this session, it's really welcome to you. So you can contact me in Instagram or LinkedIn. I also have that. And this year in around January 20 and 21, I also joined in the circular economy about green technology and clean energy. So we know that in this era, we not only tackle the climate change, but now it's already a climate crisis. And in other side, we as a youth, not only youth actually, but also all the participants here, that sometimes we not really care about our environment, that actually we can do from the small thing in our daily activity. And besides, I joined in the climate reality. I also as a one of the people that have a kind of organization. I call the Rapisi. Actually, Rapisi is a abbreviation from the Gerakan Piring Bersih. This is Indonesian language. It's called like, so on that organization, me and my friends, we want to focus on the food waste that can prevent the climate crisis, especially want to educate people, not only in the big scale, but also the small scale in the domestic and others, that everything in our daily activity, even in our food waste, it have an effect in the climate change, in the climate crisis. And the other side, we know that climate crisis if have so many effects, not only for the plant, not only for the animal, but also we as a human. Because in my bachelor, I learned about biology, and in the biology, I also learned about the ecology, which means there's an ecosystem that between a biotic factor and biotic factor that have a connected, that that they must balance one and other, so can prevent the all of thing and can have a legacy, good legacy for our future generation. And after I joined in the climate reality, I also actually before I joined in the climate reality Indonesia as a climate reality leader, first time I joined in the youth leadership camp for climate crisis. So this is one of the activity that climate reality, so it's my senior make this activity, and then I joined this one and I become a second runner up of that activity. And me and my team or my friends, we make a rapisi that I mentioned before about the Gerakan Piring Bersih. So after that, I joined in a climate reality. And in this moment, I met so many youth that's so inspiring. Even the younger from me, like around just 18 years old and 17 years old, but they already have an awareness about care in environment, about how can prevent the environment, and they have advocacy not only in the specific region. I mean, not because I learned biology or I learned about aquatic bioscience. So the people learn about law or the politics cannot understand or cannot include in the climate change or climate crisis or learn on that. No. So all the people in various background, even you still in senior high school, junior high school, you have a event, you have something that you can contribute in our society. I mean, not because we are a youth, not because we are still learn. So it means we don't have something to do for our environment, for our country, but actually we have a spirit as a youth that, which mean, guys, in 20 and 45 in Indonesia, we already count to the era that call is Indonesia Emas. It's called like golden, like a bonus demographic. Yes, bonus demography in Indonesia, we call that, which means at the era is so many productive age in the era, in the moment, which means us, that we become a future generation, we become leader at the time. So now this is our time, this is our opportunity to always collect all the knowledge, all the experience, not only from your background, but also in many various activity. And I mean, and I think as a youth, we also have so many opportunity right now, because in our digital era, in revolution industry 4.0, we have so many that is really easy to get information, not only from the internet, but also maybe from the website or others, or maybe even in social media right now. And next, this is first time I joined in climate reality. In this slide, I also represent in climate reality as a climate reality leader, and in here I talk about the food waste and other, because climate crisis. So climate crisis or crisis iklim is really dangerous, and we must tackle together. Not only the government, not only the activists, not only the people who care or learn in environment, but all of the people, even your mom. When your mom cook and then there is something food is still on the plate, if that's still on the plate, so can have a effect or the environment. Because sometimes we like see in Indonesia like oh, it's okay, it's just one straw or it's so little. I mean, why we must take care of that? I think this is the responsible of government, or we have so many green organization or other. But the people that say that it's just one straw or others is maybe 200 billion people say like that. So that's so many straw that finally collect in the environment, especially in aquatic and the marine or others. So like in Indonesia, it's more simple to say, ya you say hanya satu orang gitu ya yang ngomong, it's okay, just one straw, cuma satu sedotan. Tapi nggak taunya in other region and in other people, they also say like that. So it finally become big. So actually, there is no contribution is too small. Everyone that you do, even in your daily activity, is really good for our environment. Because as I said before, in our ecosystem, not only human, not only animal, not only plant, but also the microorganism, plant, I mean the soil, water, and other have a connection. Because we must take care of the balancing of that. So because if there's no balance between the abiotic factor like land or soil or water or other, it also affect the biotic factor like microorganism, we as human, animal, plant, and other. Because like plant need the water, need the light to photosynthesis, and then they can produce the food, or even sometimes we also eat the leaf of the plant. So actually human have really need all of that things. And yes, this is in Indonesian language, but I'm so sorry, I will explain in English. And last, actually, like Indonesia, we have 2 seasons, right? And in Taiwan, have 4 seasons, like winter and spring, autumn, and the winter, spring, fall, and autumn. But sometimes, even now in Taiwan, like this is already spring, but why feels still cold? Like this is already summer, like, but why still have like wine or other? Even if there is like a natural condition that have in Taiwan that's really often and fast to change, especially about the temperature and others. And if that, maybe we as a human like, oh, if too hot, like we can turn on the air conditioner, but actually it's not good. So it's just some people maybe like that. Or if too hot and if too cold, oh yeah, we can take our blanket and we can use our chicken. It's more warm for us. But actually for the plant and animal, they have a specific temperature, they have specific condition to grow, even the specific number, and it can affect their production system. So if the climate is really fast changing and have so many change that vary in the fast time, it also affect in the plant and in the animal, which means if that affects, so they can produce, so what we will eat at the time. Actually, yeah, we don't talk just about it, but that's the primary or the basic thing that we need as a human, like that. And you know that in Indonesia, especially in this year, even I still not back in Indonesia maybe almost 2 years because this pandemic, but I also see all the news that have a disaster in Indonesia. That's I mean it's not only about the just the disaster, but actually beside that, we must think about why it's happened. Not only about how much the rain come or others, but also about the temperature, about how the trash that's so much in the river, in our river, and oh my God. But we still have a chance. We still have an opportunity that if we can work together and contribute together, and we can do something even in small action, as I said like that. As I said before. And I also read in the United Nations Foundation that they also have a concern, especially we also have a agreement. Maybe some of you here already know about the Paris Agreement that talk about the climate change, and all the countries agree to maintain the degree, I think, below 2 degrees Celsius. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, not all the country, all the people can maybe do that, because they need our contribution. Even so, even the government have a law, but even we as a citizen not to follow that rule. So yeah, I think it's really hard to achieve that. So yes, we need urgent action to protect biodiversity, especially in Indonesia, because Indonesia is a very awesome and beautiful, especially about the biodiversity. Every plant, every animal, every place is so unique. So many various genetic that maybe cannot found in other place, in other country, as like a paradise. And as I said before, if they and sometimes they have a specific condition that they need to grow, they need to produce something. But if there's a changes or so many tree that cutting or others, it can change the habitat of the plant and animal, and it can decrease the biodiversity. But if maybe you learn about genetic modification organism or GMO, sometimes we can do that to protect our genetic, to protect our genetic plant, and then we can preserve there or other. But I think if we still can save the natural one, why not? And talk about spice. Actually, I also a little bit not familiar about spice, like kencur, jahe, Indonesia, right? Kaos. But this is the very unique, and I think even in our food, it can, but it can, if we add the spice, it can make the food have a better taste or better flavor, and I think is good for us if we can prevent that. And Indonesia has many spice, not only in one specific area, but also in other specific area like that. And here I found from the Wikipedia actually about what's the definition of spice. So here they say that spice is a seed, fruit, root, bark, or other plant substance primarily used for flavoring or coloring food. So if in the biological, we learn this in the ethnobotany. That's one of the subject that I learned in the bachelor, and I learned about how to use the plant to make something from the plant and the cultural heritage, especially in the food. And I also last night I also searched some journal, and then I found the one journal that they said the Indonesian spice commodities are one of the commodities in the plantation subsector, offering a great opportunity to be marketed globally. So which means our spice in Indonesia, they not only have a benefit in our to make better our food, or but they can they have potential to market, to export abroad on in other country, which means it can increase our economic. but that thing we must save and take care of that from the climate crisis, because as I said before about how the planet, not all the plant, but specific plant, they need specific condition, temperature, water quality, soil, what kind of soil, and how much you must take care of that. And actually, I really miss that here in Taiwan, because it's really hard to find here and so expensive. That's why when I want to eat Indonesian food, maybe it's 1 month, one time, because it's so expensive. Seriously, I'm not joking. But in Taiwan, when I want to eat Indonesian food, it's like, okay, I need to take care of my money first and then collect that and saving, and then in 1 month I will eat the one of Indonesian food. Actually, I can cook by myself, but yeah, still in the material also still expensive than in Indonesia. Even tempe, right? Actually, it's not one of spice, but it's just, for example, tempe in Indonesia maybe it's around 2.000 or 3.000 in this size, but in Taiwan it's around, maybe if I convert to rupiah, it's around more than 50.000, more than 50,000. So it's so expensive, like, oh my God. So I think you really enjoy your Indonesian food, right? In Indonesia. I miss that. And in other journal that I also found about the spice that in Indonesia, from 1989 to 2016, the trend of world demand for spice commodities tended to increase every year with a demand rate of 10.20% each year. That's why I said it's have a potential, and it can increase our economic, and especially not only the economic things, but also if we want to produce this in other level or in other aspect, it's also can make something, maybe a special food. Yeah, I think in Indonesia so many special food like gado-gado. Gado-gado, I think it's also have a spice on that. Rujak or nasi padang. Oh my God, it's really good. So for all of you here that never come to Indonesia, you must come to Indonesia and must eat something food, especially nasi padang. I think it's really good to you. You must understand. You must taste that, because the taste delicious. Oh, that's the endemic plant. I just want to give some brief explanation about endemic plants. So here we know that actually the exact definition, endemic plants are special because they are found in only one location on the planet and nowhere else. Now, I said before that there is a specific plant or animal that they need a specific condition, the temperature, how much water, or others to grow. And the other is that more complicated. Yes, can say complicated. There is a plant or the animal that they can just live in that place, in that area. That's called endemic plants. So you cannot find this plant in other country, in other region. And if there is a climate crisis and climate change that's so fast, changing the temperature or others, it can affect the environmental condition from this plant surrounding this plant. So it can make affect this plant. And if this plant have an effect and they cannot grow, maybe it can be extinct or become endangered species. So if you want to know about the condition of the plant, especially the plant, I know there is a one website called IUCN. IUCN is red list. So in that website, we can know what's the condition of this species, of that species. Like, is this species already extinct or endangered species or others? Then there's invasive species. The invasive species, this is the other thing that we also need to take care of that, not care that plant, but there's some other competitor from the endemic plants. It called invasive species. So that's non-native or alien to the ecosystem under consideration, and whose introduction causes or is likely to cause economic or environmental harm or harm to human health. So it means if there's in the one area, there's an endemic plant and there is an invasive species, and in this picture is acacia. This is in Baluran National Park, Banyuwangi, is Java. There's acacia that they spread so very fast, and they I think acacia not really have not get effect much from the climate change, but can have a effect for that's endemic plant that's in many region, especially here in national in Baluran National Park. Oh. And the last slide that I want to talk is a balanced ecosystem. So the balanced ecosystem, as I said, this is signifies a habitat which is sustainable. It consists of animals, plants, microorganisms, and more, which depend on each other and their surroundings. That ecosystem exhibits resource, fuel, energy, and material cycling. So, like a biotic factor, they have connected, and they need to balance each other, because we connected. Even as a human, we connected, but also not only with the human we have connection, but also with the plant, animal, water, source, and land, like that. I think that's all from my presentation today. Thank you so much for all you that listen this one. And if you have a question, maybe you can ask in the chat or others. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Fefi. It was a nice presentation. We can see from the perspective of the young generation, the perspective is very good. It's very wide from the cultural and also the natural aspect. Now we already have our second speaker, Ms. Chiba Moy, a program specialist for cultural at UNESCO. Since 2006, she has been a coordinator for cultural unit of UNESCO in New Delhi, office for Bhutan, India, Maldives, and Sri Lanka. Now she's holding a UNESCO office in Jakarta. Konnichiwa, Chiba.
Konnichiwa, selamat pagi.
Selamat siang dari Ternate. I'm from Ternate. Now we're already afternoon.
Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It's the same time with Osaka and Tokyo.
Okay, so you are 2 hours in advance.
Yes, 2 hours advance from Jakarta. It's very pleasant to have you here. So we already.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Yes, getting excited to hear some experience and knowledge sharing from you. So at least you have 25 minutes to share with us, with all our young students, young generation in this room, mostly, and public who join this meeting in our YouTube channel. So
right. That's excellent.
It's very excellent. What will you share here? They will watching every time since today until I don't know when, because it's still there in the YouTube. So Ms. Moichiba, okay. Now your turns, 25 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would like to share my PPT.
Please.
Oops. So let me just go to the first. So, yes, good morning, selamat pagi, selamat siang, everybody. My name is Moichiba from UNESCO. And thank you very much for inviting me to this very exciting event of youth discussing about spice root. This topic is also getting very important in UNESCO because somehow this concept withhold important agenda of UNESCO. We consider spice route as a kind of important tool to promote number of important issues of the United Nations. As a young people, you study spice route. One thing I'd like to remind you is that I think spice route is just a kind of big umbrella name to talk about diverse histories, diverse dimension of exchange between the communities and the humanities across time and across geographical space. It's not just about Indonesia, and it's not just about Indonesia and how it how the country traded spice, but the through the ocean channels, there has been exchange of many other things beyond spice. We talk about the knowledge about fishing, how to make boat. We talk about how people expanded and settled like Austronesian expansions. Here at the bottom of the pictures, they are people who are making the tree from making the paper from tree barks. This is again a technique that is available in Indonesia, but across all Southeast Asia up to Pacific. It's one of the knowledge that actually traveled beyond that traveled through oceans and maybe along with the same route as the spice route. You also heard that might have heard that Borobudur and Angkor Wat, yeah, actually has a connection. It has some similarities in terms of the architectural style, but also the Buddhism teaching that was behind. So when you talk about spice route, just bear in mind it's not just about spice. There are many dimensions, and it's not just about this specific period where the Dutch has come to your areas and to do the trade. It might be much before and involve a much larger number of people beyond Indonesia and the European countries. And I'm glad that now the young people are looking into this because somehow I feel that this topic has been understudied, especially in Southeast Asia. There are studies done by the Europeans during this period. So these studies, historical studies, are seen from European point of view, but I don't think there are enough studies of this period or this concept of spice route or maritime exchange seen from the perspective of the people from Southeast Asia. So you will be the one to start that new areas of study. What is exciting about this concept of spice route is that it's about a history of connectivity, and it's also about how people exchange ideas and somehow develop a shared culture or shared heritage. So because of this, it's actually can have a power to become a tool for intercultural dialogue and cooperations. And many countries actually have already realized that power of talking about cultural root or the historical root. You may be very aware that China is very active in promoting a history of Silk Road and the Maritime Silk Road. It's about linking China with all the other countries that has the trade relationship in the history. So China is trying to revive these historical connections through heritage study and as a tool for the diplomatic dialogue. India also is also actually trying to be another pillar for that intercultural dialogue. They have launched the concept of Project Mosam or Monsoon, because from India, using monsoon, many sailors travel to Europe, but also to Southeast Asia to do the trading. So India too has has a historical connection with some 35 countries, and by reviving this history of monsoon trade, India is also trying to launch a new diplomatic policy connecting India with the rest of the world. Latin America, Spain, and Latin America also has these trade connections. So there's now a big study going on about the history of the galleon trade that involves countries like Hong Kong, Macau, Manila, and Philippines, and a couple of Latin American countries with Portugal and Spain. So this concept of shared heritage or the spice route is actually a very interesting and exciting ways of of intercultural dialogue and diplomacy. And many countries are already using that ability. So what can Indonesia do to be part of this movement? For UNESCO also, which is a UN agency and specialized in culture and heritage, we've already we realized the power of studying history not as a dot, as a spot, but as a cultural route. And since 1990s, we have launched a number of thematic cultural route projects. The first one to begin with was Silk Road Project. That this was launched in 1980s. And that consists of mobilizing the scholars from Europe to Central Asia to Arab to up to the extreme East to actually do a joint study of the history of Silk Road. So that was a gigantic cultural cooperation projects. And thanks to the success of this similar projects, linking the stakeholders, experts, cultural professionals around the theme of history, historical connectivity has been launched. Another one was the Slave Route Project that mobilized again scholars from Africa and Latin America, Caribbeans and whatnot. We also had the project on the Africa, or the roads of Al-Andalus, which is between Islam and Europe connections. That was, and that created a very interesting hybrid culture in Spain in the 12th century, 13th centuries. So all these projects have been developed as a tool for promoting the dialogues through the historical studies. And that is actually the power of cultural roots. Understanding cultural roots or presenting the sites from the perspective cultural root is also useful not only from peace building, but also from a commercial perspective. Many countries have already understood that. So for instance, in the European Council, they have developed a series of thematic routes, thematic cultural routes to develop as a kind of tourism itinerary. What is interesting is that this approach is that this allows you to promote several places under one package. Yeah, instead of promoting one place, one monument, you present, for instance, all the places related to Napoleon. And Napoleon, of course, as a very successful general, has conquered many parts of Europe. So by presenting several locations that was related to the life of Napoleon and his conquer, you actually allow to promote several places in Europe in one go. And so you basically also encourage an individual to visit not only one place, but maybe several other places. And this has been a very successful tourism project. Same concept has been actually also been already applied in the Mekong countries in Southeast Asia. Mekong countries are those countries around Mekong River, so that includes Thailand, Cambodia, Myanmar, Vietnam, Laos. So they have decided to do a joint tourism promotion. So instead of promoting themselves as Thailand alone or Myanmar or Cambodia alone, they have created a common platform under which you can find different thematic roads So it may be that the thematic road related to the Buddhism, it's thematic road related to the chilies. It's all kinds, yeah. So they can think of all kinds of thematic road, and the idea is to promote and collaborate and promote collectively. Instead of promoting your country or your specific culture, you present it as a shared regional heritage, thereby encouraging people to visit not only one place, but many places, one after other, and therefore promoting your tourism collectively. And this is like one opportunity that concept of spice route actually offers. It allows you to work collectively and promote each other collectively. The concept of route is also present in the World Heritage Convention. Now, I'm sure you know, you have heard the World Heritage Convention, which has a list that inscribe the World Heritage Sites. Now, to inscribe heritage sites, you have option to nominate one big monument in one specific location. But there's also a possibility to nominate several monuments and sites that are linked to a particular history. So like this, actually many countries came up with an idea of nominating several monuments under one thematic idea of cultural route. For instance, in Spain and in Europe, they have this route for the Santiago de Compostela, the pilgrimage route of Compostela that links France across Europe up to Spain. So this is a nomination. One big World Heritage involves many places and many countries. In Japan, they also nominated a series of sites that are related to pilgrimage to the mountain Key. So once again, instead of just promoting one specific location, they decided to promote several places related to the pilgrimage, and therefore allowing different localities also to benefit from tourism promotions. So this is what the concept of spice route actually has as a potential. And now Minister of Culture of the government of Indonesia is already actually working on this concept of spice route as a serial World Heritage nomination. So the concept is not just nominating one, let's say Kota Tua, Jakarta as one nomination, or Semarang, Kota Lama as one nomination, but presenting as a whole package that present the history of spice route. So this work is actually already going on by the Minister of Education and Culture of Indonesia. And what is interesting is that it has a chance to promote each other jointly. So some lesser known places may benefit from the reputation of some other already known places if it's presented as a package. The concept of joint nomination or serial nomination is also present in another convention of UNESCO, which is Intangible Cultural Heritage Convention. This convention has an inscription list called the Representative List of Intangible Cultural Heritage. You may have heard that, for instance, from Indonesia, batik is part of this Intangible Cultural Heritage list, or let's say, or wayang, for instance. Now, for this list, each country, of course, has an option to nominate one element of intangible cultural heritage from its own country alone. But they also have a chance to nominate as a shared heritage and what we call a multinational nomination. So the concept is to present an heritage that are shared across the countries and presented as a collective nomination from several countries. And this is a very interesting approach because intangible cultural heritage, of course, travels across the borders. It's not confined into one national borders or within one community, most likely it travels. And it's quite interesting to recognize that dimension and do a multinational nomination. And because then this process will become becomes a tool for the intercultural dialogue. So here on the screen, a couple of very interesting nominations. One is about falconry. It's about the tradition of doing the hunting using the falcons. And that was a joint nomination involving many, many countries from Europe up to Korea, passing through Central Asia and Arabic countries. That is like exciting. So nothing but to prepare this nomination, so many countries, as you see on the screen, have collaborated and discussed how to prepare these nominations. The whole process was interesting. Then of late, related to the history of the shared maritime heritage, Malaysia and China actually put together one joint nomination, which was just inscribed end of last year, or beginning of this year rather. It's called Onchong Wang Kang ceremony. I don't know well about this ceremony, but it's a big rituals that are related to the maritime trade at the port. And apparently it's has been celebrated by a community in China and those who also migrated to Malaysia. So they did actually this joint nominations. So it's quite an interesting approach of joint promotion. So as you see, working on the spice route, understand the history of spice route and promoting spice route has a lot of potentials. It becomes a tool for peace building, intercultural dialogue, and maybe a more prolific, more successful tourism promotions. So considering that power of a spice route as an interesting tool for development, I also like to invite the young people to think how you would use this concept of spice route and different potential activities to tackle some of the pressing development needs of this this world. For instance, we have issues of pollutions in the coastal zone. Can we do anything by linking the collaboration schemes developed under spice route between the countries? Or we have also the issues of poverty in the fisherman's village, or the social inclusion of what we call the sea gypsies, certain category of people who are excluded from development process. Can we link the promotion of spice route to also use as a mechanism to support the poverty alleviation of some of the people? Or can we use again the concept of spice route to also promote some of the local cultural industries? And for instance, here is the image from Papua. This has this fisherman's nest, which is also, by the way, part of the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage list. It's on the list, but it requires a lot of promotion. Can we use spice route concept to also help these women to develop their industries? So this is something is interesting. It's not, spice route cannot just be a celebratory, fun kind of, a fun activity or just a study on the history, but you might want to think to use this concept to support some of the development needs. And I also want to look into the current reality of the territorial issues in the sea. You may be aware that there's a lot of issues of the borders at the South China Sea. Basically, different countries are claiming their national territorial seas, and all these border and their claims are basically conflicting. So this South China Sea is more a place of tensions and in conflict than a place of intercultural dialogue and peace. So that is the reality. And what I would like you to also think about is, since spice route also involves South China Sea. Do you think you can use the concept of spice route and your potential collaboration with youth from other countries to also look into this issue and find a more peaceful solution to this ongoing issues of a claim of the territorial sea? Because this is an ongoing thing, and that has been the source of many tensions that still goes on. And the question is how, by promoting the history of spice route and celebrating its wonderful aspect, can we somehow find the solutions to this security and issues that your earlier generations, the current adults, have not been able to solve till now. This map is an interesting one. It actually put the locations of all the shipwrecks from the World War II. This map was put together by a professor from the University of Western Australia. This is not exactly spice route, but I consider the World War II as a kind of extension, as a consequence of a period of spice trade and European expansions and the colonialism of Asia. And so now when you look at the sea, there is a fact that the war took place and that there are many shipwrecks or unexcavated under the sea. And these are very sensitive items because it's related to the war, and you sometimes wonder how to handle these memories related to the war. So it's, for instance, it's very delicate for Japanese to come to Indonesia and claim for the support to excavate the remains of the World War II related to the Japanese armies, because we are also the invaders, right? And we were an invader, and now we're asking, please be nice to us, because the remaining families back in Japan wants to collect the remains. It's very delicate to make that kind of claim, because we came to Indonesia and invaded, and so sometimes it's very delicate to know how to deal with those war remains. But this is a fact, and so it's something that I would like you to keep in mind when you again talk about the history of spice route and promoting the shared histories and the connectiveness with the rest of the world. By building that kind of positive relationship, if you be able to, let's say, also find a solution to the problem of the memories, problem of how to deal with the past memory of the World War II. So this is, I stop here, but these are some of the questions I would like young people to bear in mind. So spice route, yes, very exciting. It's history, beautiful, and very fun potentially to learn about the histories and spices. But as a responsible youth who will be the leader of the next generations, I would also like you to see how to connect this topic with much wider development issues, whether it's for the poverty alleviation, peace building, or the current territorial fight between the countries in Southeast Asia. So this is my suggestions, and I wish you good luck to all the youth who are going to do numbers of exercise, I believe, in the course of the coming days. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Moichiba. It's very great presentation. I get the point that one big question is how we connect the spice road with the SDGs. This is how the student or the youth will discuss for for 2 days from now for joining this program. So we will see what's happened after Wednesday. Maybe there's a lot of idea to connect this spice route and the SDGs, of course. Actually, we'll already see in our daily life where the sailor, where the fishermen, they're doing a lot of their activity that it's also a part of conservation in their daily life. But how we connect it with a program with the government, with the UNESCO itself. And so many questions will arise for this situation. So I'm not asking any question here because I'm only just moderate this session. So somebody already raised hand. It's Mr. Abe from LKASPP, National University of Singapore. So Mr. Abe, can you please raise your question directly?
Thank you, Pak Maulana. Good afternoon. I have a question to Ms. Chiba and Ms. Fevi, both of the speakers. So living in Singapore, one particular object that interests me is the shipwreck in the Asian Civilization Museum. There's the Belitung shipwreck.
The famous one, yeah.
Museum. However, I see there are some challenges. I know that UNESCO has the 2001 Convention for the Protection of Underwater Cultural Heritage. But I think there's a lack of appetite for some countries to sign and ratify the convention, maybe because of the mandatory requirement on the protection of the underwater cultural heritage. So I just want to see what's the role of UNESCO. How do you convince these countries? How do you improve the capacity of these countries on the protection of the capacity, on the protection of the maritime heritage, so that later on they can also commit it and sign and ratify this convention. Second, to Ms. Fevi, since you live in Taiwan, I know that the sea level rise, particularly in Taiwan, is double than the global average. Some countries, such as Singapore or Jakarta in Indonesia, they built some sea walls to address this issue. So I just want to know what about Taiwan? What's their plan in navigating this challenge? Thank you.
Should I reply first?
Thank you very much. Yes, please, you can reply first.
Yeah,
because the
thank
first
you very
question
much
is
for
for you.
asking. Yeah, thank you very much for asking questions about UNESCO 2001 Underwater Cultural Heritage Convention. You're right. This is one of the under-ratified convention, especially in this region, Southeast Asia. Well, out of Southeast Asia countries, actually only Cambodia has ratified and not the rest of the countries. And of course, my headquarter is encouraging all the state parties, all the countries to ratify. But of course, what I think as a UNESCO we should be more careful about, or we should be more interested about, is whether they are willing to protect the underwater heritage or not, regardless whether they are state parties to the UNESCO Convention or not. And from that perspective, it's interesting, and we observe that many countries, although they are not party to UNESCO Convention, actually have already revised their national legislation to include underwater heritage as part of the national heritage law. This was often not the case. And several countries, and especially Vietnam and Indonesia, reported that although, again, they have not ratified UNESCO Convention, they actually adopted technical guidelines on, let's say, good practice about protection of underwater heritage, which is part of the annex of the convention. And so they said, although they are not party to it, they actually, what they are doing is very much as per the guideline of the UNESCO conventions. And that, I think, is already a very good step. Now, of course, there's an inhibition for several countries to go one step further, which is the ratifications. And I think there are many reasons for that. One is that it has a cost. You ratify a new convention, that means you have to pay you have to contribute certain amount of money to the secretariat of the conventions. So it has a certain cost. And certain countries like Indonesia said, Indonesia has already ratified many international conventions, and the government is paying money to all these conventions and the secretariats. It has a cost. So if you want to add one more convention, you have to be careful. You have to justify whether it really has a kind of positive impact to Indonesia or not. Only then you can ratify. So Minister of Foreign Affairs explained to me that it's one reason they are not. It means some countries are not in a hurry to kind of ratify the convention, which we perfectly understand. And then of course there are other factors like UNESCO convention does not authorize a commercial exploitation, so sales of underwater heritage. And some countries are questioning this. In a sense, they are not, of course, encouraging the illicit trafficking of underwater heritage, but that they also think that there might be some reasonable way of commercial, let's say, sales of underwater heritage, because if they want to promote study on underwater heritage and do more research, more investigations, etc., and also do more protection, that also has a cost. And where do you get this money from? Of course, it doesn't grow in your in the forest, right? It doesn't grow like potatoes in your farm. And some countries think that it's reasonable to sell part of the collections to reinvest in the underwater cultural heritage. And what's wrong about that? That is also some of their point of view, and that might be quite valid. Although as per UNESCO conventions, any sales looks like it's very bad. But so some countries said, okay, if you think that selling is very bad, all kinds of selling is very bad, then let us think, before ratifying. So that's another reason I was told. And of course, another thing is that all the territorial issues, which I also showed on the map. The underwater cultural heritage basic premises is international collaborations. So if something, let's say, a shipwreck of one country is found in your territory, basically you kind of are encouraged to collaborate together with other country. And but some countries said, oh, that means do we have to allow other countries to come, and do openly like investigations? So that's one question mark to many of the countries. And of course, in the map, I showed that they are in the South China Sea, for instance. The countries are not agreeing as to their national borders. So if this national borders is not clear, then you are not sure where is your border of your border of the responsibility. And so as long as this part is not clear, they don't want to ratify the convention. That's also another important actually reasons. So there are many long steps to barriers, let's say obstacles to go through if we really want to encourage the countries to ratify. And I think each country should take their own time to come to a reasonable conclusions, whether to ratify or not to ratify. But meantime, as a UNESCO, we're still interested that the countries collaborate on the issue of shared heritage and intercultural dialogue, using spice route, for instance, as a kind of umbrella topic. And this is what we are doing. And then maybe 10 years down the line, if they think that also ratifying the convention is good, yeah, then please go ahead. And that is our approach.
Okay, thank you. So we move to the second question to the other speaker. Please,
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for the question. So actually in Taiwan, for the specific regulation, especially, or how the government handled or navigating the sea level, I'm not really sure. But what I know in Taiwan, especially, the government really good to handle not only in a specific something that have effect about climate change or climate crisis, but they now is focused on a clean energy and green technology. And something that Taiwan government do first, now in Taiwan, not only in the specific area, but almost in the all university, even in my university, and in aquaculture, we change the energy from the solar panel. So we like step by step try to move the energy from the solar energy or from the electricity become a solar energy. That's why I also one of the research assistant that analyze the water quality, especially to compare about how the aquaculture that use electricity and aquaculture use a solar panel, but this is still ongoing, so still not have a result. And the other hand, Taiwan government also supports in many research area, especially in the science, like they support all the activity that I joined in the 1st January. This one is Southeast Asia International Joint Research and Training Program 20 and 21. It's not only Taiwan people, but also from Southeast Asia, even in Poland. And we talk about climate change, climate crisis, and green technology, and we share all the things on that. And the good thing that I also admire the government, they not only focus in the regulation to protect or navigating everything that changes right now, but also how they try to influence the society to change their habits, like always bring a tumbler or other that kind of small thing, but it's massive. And even here, if I don't bring my tumbler or not bring my bag to when I go shopping, and like actually it's okay, but it's very shy for me. So there's something habits that the government in Taiwan try to make society to contribute to maintain and navigate all of the thing, especially to prevent the natural disaster. Beside that, the government also doing all the research and try to moving from the electricity become to solar energy, and which means a solar panel. So I think that's the Taiwan government do that. But for the specific they do about the navigating sea level or something, I think is from the research that in the science research area that they do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice. It's a very nice story from Taiwan. We hear that the government already doing so many things until how to change the habit to their daily life. So it's still stronger and still happening in the process in our country too, of course. So now we move to our second participant who are asking a question. I already saw a listener from Universitas Syah Kuala. Please, listener, can you open your microphone and video to asking your questions? Listener from University of Syah Kuala, are you still here?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Please.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm on camera because my network not good.
Okay.
Introduce my name, Lisnayanti Siregar. I'm student Marine Science, Syah Kuala University. I want question. So, mom, according to matter, how to improve the income of fishermen? Because as I know, almost all fishermen in Indonesia only get a small income from their catch. because in my country the fishermen and very little from the cats. Because I think the student like me have the opportunity to want to be like mothers. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Good question. So only
Is
for
this a
Ms.
question?
Moy Chiba, your question, right?
Okay, so this is to me. Okay, yes, listener, thank you very much for this question. Yeah,
She
I
wants
think
to hear
as
your
a
opinion. Yeah.
very critical questions are how to link, let's say, poverty alleviation of the fishermen with concept of spice route. It's something also I put in my PPT as a big questions, more like questions to be solved, and because we don't have thousands of answers, I mean, we don't have a clear answers to it. But what I think is important is that, okay, spice route is many rich companies already thinking of making tourism package out of the theme of the spice route, right? It's a kind of very appealing topics. You can think of making a luxury international ocean tour, like a cruise tour, on the theme of spice route, and earn a lot of money. But so it's already like a lot of tourism agents are kind of start working and jumping up and down around the theme of spice route. But the question is, but then there are ways of developing tourism, not more community based. So instead of letting the big companies and big external agent to come and coordinate or control the tourism activities, there are ways to promote the products and know-how and skills of the fishermen as a kind of scope of tourism activities. So it's what we call the community based. And so this is something that will be very important to look into, because it's a very appealing topics, and the government is already putting a lot of money, and so I'm sure there's already a big travel agencies start working on it. How to make sure that the what will be features as tourism products or activities, not the one who are designed by people outside, but actually are something that that are focused on the knowledge and the know-how of the local fishermen, for instance. So instead of making big hotels, maybe you can think of converting their houses into a guest house, right? For instance, or you can develop their fisherman's nest into something more appealing, rather than a big travel agency importing a lot of junk stuff from other industrial city and sell it into the tourism market. Maybe you can think of developing new tourism products within the know-how or the capacity of the whatever the know-how and the resources that is available at fisherman's village. So it's one approach. I'm not saying that this is like a solution, but I think this is one thing one has to think about. Another important thing is that they should take part. I mean, they are also informed of the knowledge of spice route. They have to own it, right? They have to. It's part of. It should be part of their own history. It's not a narrative imposed by a scholar from outside, but I think the fishermen should be aware of their own histories and their relationship with spice route and international historical trades and whatnot. So the education or the awareness raising is also an important activity one should think about. And I'm sure a lot of NGOs in those places have been already started, and including Negeri Rempah, they already adopted that approach. So for the time being, this is what I can say.
Okay, great. Thank you. So how about Fefi? Do you have any opinion for these rising questions? For instance, your experience in Taiwan, maybe the local fishermen or something?
Thank you. Actually, I also agree with Ms. Moichiba say that And besides that, in Taiwan, because I'm in aquatic biosciences, my department, so I also learn in aquaculture pond about how in Taiwan prevent. And because I'm from Puger is from Jember Regency, East Java. That's also fisherman, and also my father is also fisherman too in East Java. I see the difference between in my village and also in Taiwan. Almost all of the fishermen in Taiwan, they make a aquaculture pond and also doing something that is more modern, and it's not only sell the product, it's just not only sell the product that's fresh from the sea, but also they also sell the product that already processed, so it can increase the income of the fishermen. And in other sites in Taiwan, about the sell and buy something between one region and another region, it's really easy to have the kind of route. And I think in Indonesia also needs something to improvement, especially from the fishermen, not only from the fishermen itself to move in the process production, but also from the government to facilitate the fishermen how they can sell or export all the product that they get from the sea, like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shaifi. It's very variety and nice experience from many countries, including for this questioning. For instance, if we look back at the history, the people in Maluku Island, they already have the what we call the knife, the kite. When they have to get the fish, they use the old technology, the kite technology, the kite fishing we call it. So it's more than 600 or 700 years ago. They still use that technology nowadays in the Maluku archipelago. What's happened today when the tourism industry coming, this kind of technique is side by side. Rather than they doing is for their daily life or just for tourism attraction. So it's the decision for the local. But until nowadays, we're not still in a good preparation for how to design this local culture, this heritage to connect with the SDGs, the question that Ms. Moy argued. It's a very important thing to discuss for the next 2 days from now. So is there any other questions raised to this two topic? It's very good topic and presentation for this first public talks. I already looking at in the YouTube live too. Is there any question from public who watching in YouTube? They can still writing in the comments. Or you can raise your hand, and please, the participant, you can raise your hand or just write your question. And while waiting the question, can I ask something to Ms. Moichiba? It's connected with the first question from Abe about the convention, yeah, of course. The convention and conservation of. It's about the shipwreck. You already put in your presentation about the shipwreck as a shared heritage from the Second World War. Here in the North Maluku province, we have a lot of that things. Since the Morotai Island become one of the importing base military for the aliens. So it's a very big historical period happening there. And the shipwreck is still there. And so many tourists coming all over the world just want to see the shipwreck. But my question is not about that. It's about in the other side. In Tidore, we already celebrate the 500 years commemoration between the Kingdom of Tidore and the King of Spain, the Magellans and Elcano route. And what's happened, I think that, what do you think if the perspective of colonialism to celebrate after 500 years, because there's so many arguments, there's so many comments from the young generation and the old perspective. I think that the old perspective still thinking about celebration, commemoration, but the youth, the young generation, they're already thinking more forward, more critical. What kind of celebration that we have? It's a kind of critical thinking to celebrate this 500th commemoration. And if it connected with the shipwreck in Tidore, in the ocean, they have a lot of shipwreck from the Spanish period of historical things that even in Indonesia history, they don't mention it, the Spanish period. So that's why the embassy of Spain, last week when they came here, they try a lot of stronger activity to explain to Indonesian that, hey, we are one of a part of your history and we still have a wreck in your sea or something like that. But what's happened now, they don't manage the shipwreck in a good condition. They took the shipwreck from Tidore for the research, but they forget in the ocean that shipwreck is give a good ecosystem for the fish and for the coral reef. That's the big issue now in Tidore. You took the shipwreck from, or it's not only shipwreck, but it's a ship things that come through the sea. But they took it a week ago, and so many local dive center give a protest. If you took all from the ocean, what's happened to our coral reef? The diving, the people who doing diving, they come to this island only want to see the things in the ocean, not in the museum. Still, the perspective of museum, they still move something from the original place, move to the museum. It's very funny for me, in my opinion, because we still have the living museum in the natural things. The fish can come in, the coral reef can grow up very good, but they took it away and they want to put it in the museum. What do you think about this?
Yes, no, I think you raised a very difficult question, difficult issue for which I think nobody has any clear answer, but only to keep asking and keep trying. I think, and we haven't really understood what to do with the memory of the war. Although now war is nearly 80 years in the past. I don't think in Southeast Asia we came to some kind of conclusions, agreement on how to handle this past memory, and it's becoming more and more difficult because those who experienced the war are dying. They are in their 80s, 90s. Many people passed away. So all the war museums, for instance, in Japan, are being closed down because nobody's there to maintain. And so it's becoming like something that we start forgetting. And then we are wondering, what do we do with this legacy? That how are we going, and as a next generation, how are we going to carry it forward? Not as those who are directly involved in the war, but a new generation who haven't experienced that, but nonetheless who have heard about those from the grandparents. And what is interesting is to get more and more perspective from Southeast Asian countries, because these countries have not participated in the country as a main protagonist. Your territory were used as a place of battles between those big forces, Americans, British, Japanese, and whatnot. And I think it's kind of a bit, well, not nice, less regrettable that we only still hear the voices from those who fought. Those who are the main protagonists of the war, meaning Japan, Korea, China, and European countries. They are the ones who are still making noise about the shipwrecks and whatnot. But we are not hearing enough of the opinions of the people from in Southeast Asia who suffer from the war, and because their countries were used as a battleground. but but actually it was not your choice to take part in the war, because these countries came in and decided to fight in your territory. And what I think we should do more and more is to get the perspective of the people from Southeast Asia. And I think it's quite legitimate for people in Tidore, for instance, to say, hey, why is Spanish coming and glorifying your past? It's that is their perspective. It may not be your perspective. And I think that it should open up, a new way of dialogue, instead of just dwelling on the past glories and those who fought and died, and in a heroic manner, and let's celebrate their heroic deed, etc. I think we should convert into an opportunity for a new dialogue between for the peace building in the regions. But how and what? This is something I'm also twisting my head. I don't have any clear directions. Sorry, but I'll be very happy to continue discussing that, with a group of people like you, because I think the memory of the World War is kind of fading, because the old generation is dying, and it seems that the world trend now is that they are ready to go for another war, because World War II is kind of gone in the past, so as if they have forgotten. And it's that is a very scary situation. So and then you don't want, nobody wants the same World War II to happen again. So it's so what can we do to prevent this new war to happen on the basis of the learning of the World War II is perhaps what we should be doing. And sorry, I'm a bit confused, and sorry for talking out of my
Thank you.
thinking loud.
Thank you. I'm just argue my opinion just while waiting that somebody want to ask a question, because we still have a time, at least from the organizing committee, we still have time until 12 Jakarta time, or GMT +7. So at least we still have 30 minutes from now. So please, the participant, use this time wisely. You can ask all questions. You can argue something, or you can disagree with something that we already tell here. Please, this is your time using. Okay, we already have Trindi Astriana. Please, Trindi Astriana, open your mic and camera if you can.
Okay. Hello. Is my voice clear?
Yes, it's very clear.
Okay. I just joined the seminar, so I'm sorry if I lack of some materials and some points. Maybe I want to ask Mrs. Chibra. You said that with the spice route, there is a potential to make a peace and dialogues. But I have some case. I just curious. What if with the spicy roots we mix the culture and it becomes the culture for two countries? Let's say Indonesia and Malaysia. They have same cultures from spicy roots. So does it make a new conflict or not? And if it's just for one country, I'm sorry. So the culture belongs to one country, or it can be claimed as both of the country. Thank you.
Good questions. Please,
So your question, Trindi, is whether a culture should can belong to several countries at the same time, or should belong to only one country?
Does this mean that?
Yeah.
Sorry, Trindi, still mute. I mean that if I cannot explain, she want to argue some argument that why don't we use this cultural background or historical background as a force to unite between administrative or between nations, something like that. Not only belong to one country.
That is exactly what I think UNESCO is also trying to tell, especially like for intangible cultural heritage. And because the knowledge and know-how, skills, techniques, these things travel, right? These things travel across the national borders, right? And that's why you find similar kind of tradition between Malaysia and Indonesia, for instance, but even beyond. If you study any items, you can see how similar practice or tradition are shared across whole of Southeast Asia. And you realize, oh, it's not just about Indonesia, but so many other countries actually had similar cultures. And so yes, culture is transborder. It can belong to many communities at the same time, and this is why we want to use this characteristic of culture as a force to unite, as a force to kind of appreciate and you know and feel others like a friend and not like enemy, but rather than using this as a nationalistic tool. You know, it's like, this is my culture, it's not yours. Unfortunately, when the government offices get involved, they tend to adopt a very nationalistic approach. So when you look at the intangible cultural heritage nominations, they try to say, oh, batik is only Indonesia and not Malaysia, for instance. And Malaysia says, no, why? But the dialogue sometimes is very difficult. There's pantong, which became like a joint Malaysia-Indonesia nomination, but discussion between the ministries, two ministries of the two countries have been difficult. Because but what is important is that the culture is not the tool, nationalistic tool for the government alone. It should belong to people, and especially like those intangible cultural heritage should belong to those people who practice it. And this is why UNESCO encourages the activity by the civil society, anything the exchanges between the civil society when it comes to those intercultural dialogue, mutual understanding. Because as soon as the government gets involved, suddenly becomes very political and nationalistic kind of exercise. So for the concept of spice route, I think it would be nice if the whole thing get hijacked by the civil society and you make it as people's movement, and not a nationalistic political movement, as is the case. Well, Chinese spice route or Indonesian Project Mosem are very government driven, very government politically driven program, as you might be aware. That is, of course, and sometimes you need government support to get something started. But ideally, it should be really the tool for the mutual understanding, and not the political invasions, but the mutual understanding. And for this spice route to become the real tool for the mutual understanding and peace building, it should be in the hand of the civil societies who actually go beyond government agenda. That's my take. I don't know, have I answered to your questions or points, Rindy?
Thank you. We already get the point. I think Trindi Astriana can understand it, or Trindi, if you still want to argue or asking something.
No, I guess.
It's enough.
Thank you.
Okay, that's good. It's a great discussion about this, because if we see in the perspective from Fefi, the Taiwanese and the Chinese, we can already have another perspective and lesson learned from Taiwanese and the Chinese. Or Fefi, maybe you want to tell something about this perspective, this cultural movement or cultural fighting between two nations with the same cultural background?
Yeah, actually, it's quite difficult to explain about the position, especially right between China and Taiwan, because this part about diplomatic between, I don't know, it's two country or one country to say that, because still not sure. Even me study in Taiwan about that, but about the cultural, for sure between Taiwan and China have specific or maybe same the culture, even the language is the same. Just in Taiwan use traditional Mandarin and in China use simplified Mandarin. And I think in Taiwan and China, they have specific regulation from their own government. But the other hand, sometimes from the China, because China say that Taiwan part of the China, a thing like that. So you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but Taiwan say that Taiwan is an independent country like that. So all the cultural heritage that have in Taiwan belongs to Taiwan historical story, even the culture. But because Taiwan is small area, maybe is just like East Java and West and Middle Java is not really big. So not really have so many cultural heritage, but in Taiwan is I think is most of the heritage is artificial. So for the intangible like root spice root or other is not really one of the big problem in this country, I think. So I think this country is focused to how to become independent country, I guess, or other thing that is more important for the government to focus on that. So yes, like that the situation in Taiwan is like that. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a good wide perspective. I just want to hear from the young generation how they think about their government itself, or how they think about where they live or they study the government or the cultural background. Because in our country, sometimes it's become a big issue between Indonesia and Malaysia. Even if you ask our colleagues from Malaysia, they will say something like that. But actually, we have a root, a cultural background, a historical things that can unite us. Why we don't use that as a unified, our background as a unified, not as a trying to find our differences and so on, something like that.
But actually, because in Taiwan, as a international student, because here also have Malaysian student, and then in the moment we must present our culture like dance or we use batik or others. But I think even in I think in other country like in Taiwan, when we study abroad and we meet Malaysian student and we must present our culture, both of them is fine. I mean, not like in the social media or others that they disagree each other and fight. Like sometimes we can say fight in the comments about this is mine. Actually, in when we go to abroad, we unify as an Indonesian, as a Malaysia, but we introduce our culture with really honor. I mean, okay, this is Malaysia, this is Indonesia, but of Indonesia and Malaysia, because we as a like Indonesia we call satu rumpun. So I think it's okay for us to communicate. Even we have a one activity together and we use batik together, and I think it's okay because we know all the historical and we know why we have some almost specific cultural historical like that. Because maybe in other head in other sides maybe cause about education, not only in Indonesia but the other side. Because if we know about what the historical thing and we educate it well, so if we handle or we discuss something, it's more wise to say something or to think something like that.
So let's say that when you study abroad, you can representing your culture not only from the nation but from the ethnical group. For
Yes.
example, you can explain the Malay people to the Taiwanese. The Malay people like this, blah blah blah. It's depend on Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei, Singapore, blah blah, something like that, right?
Yes, because we are as an international student, so sometimes we will present as an Indonesian, but sometimes we will present as a group. So which means all the many countries become one like that.
That's a good point. So we have already another question from Afkar Aristoteles. Please, you already raise your hand. You can unmute. Mr. Afkar. Hello, Mr. Afkar, can you hear? Or the operator can help us to unmute Mr. Afkar. Oh, already unmute. Please, Mr. Afkar.
Okay, I have a question for Fefi or and Miss Chiba. For about the culture, about Taiwan. We know that Taiwan has indigenous ethnic, which is they are Austronesian, but now these days Chinese culture is dominating there. But how space roads could save or make us know about their heritage, cultures, and make research now today can know about their attendance in past research. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Afkar. So, Ms. Moichiba, can you please answer the questions?
I don't think I'm expert on Taiwan, but Afkar's question
Your
is
opinion.
how to make their like various traditions, because Taiwan is also known to have a lot of ethnic groups. His question is how to make their varied traditions known. Is it Afkar's question? Did I understand it correctly?
How about the local people of the Taiwanese, the Austronesian Melanesia?
Well, okay, I guess I leave it to Fefi to explain about the cultural diversity in Taiwan. But regarding the questions about how to know more about Taiwanese different communities and ethnic groups and their traditions, I think what is important is that these communities themselves have means to express themselves, right? There are different ways of learning about their cultures. One way is that you go and study as a scholar, so you do the documentation, you do your PhD, whatever. That is one, and then you publish your book or you read all those studies that are made by the scholars, and that is one way of doing. But what UNESCO is advocating more and more is that we should hear the perspective of the communities themselves. You would let them describe how they want to be, presented themselves, rather than them being presented in the eyes of the third party, whether it's the scholars or the government officers. Now, if you want to know, Afkar wants to know more about Taiwanese and Taiwanese culture, my suggestion is make friends. Make friends from people from Taiwan, and then listen to them. Listen to these days, even though we can't travel, the online tool is a great support. You can get connected to the people from there online, and maybe create a platform for dialogues. Now, how to become friends with people from Taiwan, because I have no connection. Maybe Fefi will be the best person to help Afkar for that purpose.
Okay, thank you.
So one recommendation is, yeah.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So because maybe because I currently now in Taiwan, so little bit know about the ethnic people and the traditional people or the cultural heritage. But disclaimers first, this is just my experience. I mean, every people that live in Taiwan, they have specific experience, and this is belong to, and even my friends, Taiwanese friends or other, have so many various opinion about the tradition, the cultural, the political issue between Taiwan and China. So I know that from the story of my friends that they said one of them is agree that sometimes Taiwan and China is become one like that, and but the other also they want to Taiwan have a specific or special ethnic people or kind of that, even the culture. But as I said before, because of Taiwan is small area, so it's just I even once time join in the cultural activity in the ethnical area, and they present and they use the ethnical clothes, and also they celebrate the Independence Day. But it's really different with Indonesia, because in Indonesia when we celebrate our Independence Day, is like really have a big ceremonial, or we have a traditional competition like makan kerupuk or others, and in every house sometimes we raise the flag red and white like that. But in Taiwan itself, when there's a day that's called Independence Day in Taiwan, but I forget the dates, and I'm also not sure is it the same with China or no. But they also celebrate that, even it's not really big ceremonial, but they also celebrate that. And about the ethnical, I think because China also a big mainland, so also they have not only one ethnical group, but I think it's even maybe in Shanghai, or they have a specific like Indonesia, because like Indonesia in East Java and Middle Java or West Java, we have specific our own cultural, even the clothes and dance or other. But in Taiwan, it's just one ethnical that I know that, and the clothes or other, and I think is also familiar with China, but it's not for the all China, but maybe in northern or southern area that close with Taiwan like that. Thank you.
I would like to make a small addition on this issue that the question of Afkar. I'm Kumorate from Negeri Rempah. I'd like to join this discussion. Okay, Pak Moderator. Thank you. Well, this is a very interesting question that is addressed by Afkar just now about the heritage of Austronesia and how it linked with the maritime heritage. I would say that the Austronesia, yes, there is the famous theory about the human migration, which is called out of Taiwan, but it's also I would say that although the name is out of Taiwan, the theory, but actually it addresses heritage in Southeast Asian region. So I think it would also become our common heritage. And I suppose this is also a very good entry point to discuss, to make, to explore the commonalities between nations in this region, and how this seafaring tradition, Austronesia has a very large impact and dispersal of, if I'm not mistaken, to Madagascar, and then also to south coast of Japan, if I'm not mistaken. But this Austronesian heritage would be a very good entry point to be explored and also discussed to enrich different perspective, different point of view on creating more cooperation between nations, or also specific commonalities in each nation that are going to be in a further dialogue. I suppose that would be a great entry point. I suppose that's my small addition. Pak Maulana, I give it back to you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you very much. It's quite a lot of variety topic if we talk about the indigenous people and the people who live after that, because if we study about the community or the local settlement and then become an urban society, we also study about the urban tissue. The layering is very thick layer, and mentioning all the people who already live there from even before century. So who is the indigenous itself? So it's quite a big question if you want to discuss this. So we can move forward. Is another question. We still have 9 minutes. Someone want to argue or want to say something to discuss about this first public talks? So it's a variety topics from how the human adaptation, how the spice route, how it connects to the climate change. It's quite a variety topic between the science and the technical things, the social science, the cultural society, the community itself. It's very attractive and good perspective. We can discuss many things from this, including the shipwreck that finished yet to discuss from Mochiba. Yeah, we have a lot of shipwreck in Indonesia, and we can see that from a lot of perspectives. It's become a shared heritage or a diving spot for tourism, or it's only for academic purpose and neglecting the local needs, the community. And it's still happening in all the archipelago, not only in Maluku archipelago, but I think it's happened in Bangka Belitung, it's happened in Cirebon, the shipwreck, and all part of heritage things. So if there is not any question, maybe I can give the last 7 minutes to both of two presenter if you want to argue or to conclude or want to say something as the closing for this first public session. Maybe I will give first time to Fefi, please, if you want to say or if you want to conclude or say something.
Okay. So the first thing I would like to say thank you so much for the Negeri Rempah Foundation, Maritim Muda, and other speakers having me here as a speaker, so I can discuss more, so I can have so many, because when I in the bachelor, I learned about biology, I learned about ethnobotany, is called about the food and about cultural and others. But actually, I don't really know about this root spice or spice root, this one. So this is like, oh, because I have this one, I have something new. Even I'm speaker here, but I get a knowledge here, and this is a really good discussion and topic for all the people here. And the other, my last statement here, I would like to encourage all the youth here and all the people here, because we are still youth, we have spirit, we have opportunity to do something. It's not, and we not only, if like maybe you know the song from the Cowboy Junior, untuk memulai, this is Indonesian language, to start something, you don't need to do, you don't need to do something big first, like tak perlu tunggu hebat, right, to do something. Even the small thing, we can do that in our daily activities, just like finish your food or not use a plastic straw or others. That's the small thing. We can do everything. You bring a tumbler, because here in Taiwan, like if you meet a student, even in the senior high school, even they're still kids, until even me as a master student, we bring our tumbler. We bring even the spoon and fork. We also bring in our itself because we want to protect. And the other side, we must directly continually to always give the information to the audience, because now digital era is really have a benefit effect, especially to spread our awareness, to spread our information, even in your Instagram story, to let's finish our food on others, or even like this, even you can share this even in your Instagram or others, so people can understand that, oh, okay, so I can do this. Oh, so if I not finish my food, it will be like that. Oh, if like this one, it will be effect like that. And because the effect is not only from now, but for the future. And we not only think about ourselves, but we also think about what's the legacy that we can do or save or care to for our next generation, like that. So I would like to say thank you so much, and next time we must have some discussion like that, because this is so interesting. And for you guys that you want to stay connected, I also have LinkedIn and Instagram and other social media that name or address is like in this background. Thank you so much, Mr. Maulana.
Thank you very much, Fefi. Terima kasih banyak. So now it's your turn, Ms. Moichiba.
Yes, my last word. Yes, I also want to join Fefi to thank Negeri Rempah for organizing this wonderful event, and also inviting UNESCO. And as Ms. Kumorati knows well, UNESCO Jakarta is a very much fan of Negeri Rempah, and we are keen to support anything your foundation is doing. Now, for this spice route, my message to young people is to please use this not merely as a topic for historical study or or some cultural events, but to as an entry point to think what future you want for your country, but also what kind of relationship do you want with your neighbors, and what position do you imagine for Southeast Asia in the rest of the world. If you are wise, you are a bit strategic, Spice Route actually offers 1,000 ways of achieving that kind of discussing that achieving that kind of visions. It's been like how many decades now that ASEAN exists as an institution? It was created with the visions of unity in diversity. But if you really still look at what each country does, they still adopted a nationalistic approach, although they talk about unity in diversity, but they have somehow not been able to find the joint collective activities as Southeast Asia. That is somehow an impression we have. For instance, if we look at the history curriculum, it's very much nationalistic. They don't talk about neighbors' history. So I think there's still a lot of things we can think and do to for this region to work collectively and to address this collective agenda of the humanity. And so Spice Route could be a perfectly an interesting entry point to do that. So please think big and because the young people are the one to lead the future of this planet. So yes, so once again, good luck to all the young people, and I really look forward to hearing some exciting ideas that youth would come up with after 2 days or 3 days of deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Terima kasih banyak. So now our time is up. It's only left 1 minute to 12 Jakarta time, and now it's 2 p.m. Ternate time, same with Tokyo and Osaka time. I know what time is now in Taiwan? 12 or 1?
1.
Oh, 1, yeah. So we are the 2 speakers and 1 moderator with the 3 different geographical time. less than 1 hour one to another. So for me, it's very good moment and special time to moderate this session. Thank you so much for the time for Maritim Muda and Yayasan Negeri Rempah. We can discuss many things for the next 2 days, and you can also contact me from my email. I already put in the comments. And thank you so much for the two speakers and Ibu Dewi Komorati from Yayasan Negeri Rempah, and all the participants here in Zoom meeting, and also the public participant in YouTube live streaming that still happen right now. Thank you so much. We can see you in another time and another topic, or we can discuss the same topic. Please feel free to contact us. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maulana Ibrahim, Ms. Fevi Eka, and Ms. Moy Chiba for the intriguing discussion we have just now. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the first public talk, and we will be having a lunch break session. We'll start again at 1 p.m. Stay tuned, because after the break, we'll be talking about blue economy and SDGs. See you at 1 p.m. GMT +7.